Hi, fellow seekers. I'm Ryan. This is RNS Ministries channel, and this is season 1 of Developing His Worldview, episode number 12, Creation and Evolution, part 5. Now, as I've done in the previous videos, if you have not seen parts 1 through 4, go back, watch episodes 8, 9, 10, and 11. Get caught up because it's not going to make sense if you just hop in here, because I'm gonna be referencing stuff that I was talking about, especially in last week's episode and some previous episodes. You're gonna be lost. This week, as promised, I want to talk about I want to talk about some of these scientific theories that are taught as fact. Just to kind of recap, this stems from my own issues walking from an evolutionary mindset to a creation worldview and the struggles that I had with that. Because again, go back and watch that previous video because you'll get a full picture of why that struggle that I had there. But once I came to a creation worldview, I began to see that some of the things that are taught as fact are not actually fact. They are nothing more than theory at best, because they just aren't. First of all, let's talk about carbon dating. This is a big one because the fact on carbon 14 dating is the fact that it is not accurate. In order to get a result, you have to put in a time frame in order to get results. The problem is that carbon has a life of around 50,000 years. And when you find carbon in a fossil, that fossil should not date more than 50,000 years into the past. But yet we find that there are bones being dated to millions of years ago. How in the world is this accurate if we can't folks, we have dinosaur bones that are still fleshy. Like the bone marrow is still intact. If that bone is millions of years old, that is not possible. It's just not possible. We have bought into the lie of carbon dating that it's accurate. And things that are young, sure, it could be fairly accurate ish, because the problem with it is that the life of carbon and what it puts off as byproducts, it has to have a controlled environment, and the ground is anything but a controlled environment. I'm just saying, like, that is not a controlled environment. There are different variables that affect this and how quickly something will decay or not. So that's why I say, like, even more recent stuff, it's like, yeah, like, eh. It's ish because it's not in a controlled environment. In a controlled environment in a lab where we're controlling everything, well, yeah, we know exactly what that's going to do and how fast it's going to decay. But in the ground, we don't. We can't purport that. Something else that is passed off as truth is the geologic column. The geologic column. It is this. Insert a picture right up over here, as you can see the geologic column. It starts with the small fossils, and it's the layers, and it goes up, and the further up you go, you get bigger dinosaurs and stuff like that, and buried in layers. And this is how scientists tell how old something is by these geologic columns. Go do some research on Mount St. Helens. When Mount St. Helens erupted in the early 80s, there was a massive flow of water and slush, and like, because the mountain had snow on it. When this erupted down the mountainside, it formed a miniature Grand Canyon. Okay. And sure enough, when the scientists went to go look at this mini Grand Canyon that formed, they found that things had been sorted into layers, the lighter stuff being on bottom and the heavier stuff being up on top. And this was formed in 3 hours or not 3 hours, 3 days. That this stuff was formed. It didn't take millions of years. It took 3 days. So again, everything we know about the geologic column is not accurate, because the problem is that there are layers missing across the world, and there are some layers that just are not there. And it's like, how is that missing? The way the geologic column is actually explained better, there's this little thing in the Bible. It kind of occurs there between Genesis 6 and 11, called Noah's flood. The correlation between Mount St. Helens and the way things were sorted out there and Noah's flood, and how it would have sorted things out in the global flood. Noah's flood was not regional, it was global. We have found pockets of water underneath the crust of the earth, massive pockets of water. They're calling now the seventh ocean, that is buried deep in the earth. Coincidence? No, no. You see, the thing is that this stuff is passed on as though it is absolute truth, and it is not. This again, this stuff is theory at best. Now, there's no way that we can prove any of this. We can only look at the evidence that we've got. Okay. The tectonic plates is another one. The movement of the tectonic plates, and how the earth got to where, the continents got to where they're at. Well, so in this instance, I don't know, the science is very wrong, because it is highly likely that prior to the flood, all of the earth was like one big landmass, and the water was all over the earth, but there was this big Pangea landmass that was there. And then when the flood happened, because everything was so tumultuous and just like I mean, it's utter chaos. Like the world is being destroyed by flood, and you got volcanoes, and you've got all this stuff going on. Like I mean, it's complete pandemonium. There are theories out there, creation scientific theories, that talk about how the tectonic plates would have moved really rapidly over the course of a year, because it only rained for 40 days and 40 nights. They were on the ark for about a year. So, a little over a year, I think. But it's like, you've got this idea that these tectonic plates move over the course of a year, and then by the time the dust settles, the water settles in this case, you've got a completely different look on the face of the earth. We have super tall mountains, we have vast deep oceans, and it's still moving today, slowly but surely, over time. Doesn't have to take millions of years. What I'm saying is this: science is best guess. We take science as though it is 100% proven. In fact, that's the way it's taught. when in all actuality, science is nothing more than theory and discovery and research and testing and hypothesis and going through this process. We buy into that Johnny Preacher Man academic academic intellectual elitism. We buy into that and say, well, because I don't have a degree, I don't know what I'm talking about. Are you able to read? Are you able to understand, research, and learn? Then guess what? You're qualified. Do the research, look into it, because I'm telling you, you don't need a piece of paper from an approved university in order to know how to do something. That's what they want you to think. But I'm telling you, if you have the ability to read and you are intelligent and you can learn and understand, then you can do the research on this stuff and you can know. You can know this stuff. You can understand that a lot of this stuff is theory, that it is not actual proven fact. I'm not a scientist. I have a degree in ministry. You want to know how I know that Johnny Preacher Man thing that I talked about a few episodes ago? You want to know how I know that so well? It's because I've lived it. I got my bachelor's degree from an institution. I would love to have my master's degree, but at this point, I can do the research and I can learn on my own. I don't need a piece of paper to tell me what I know and what I don't know in order to be approved by some kind of an academic entity to say that, oh, you are approved. Now there are some things that if you want to do, then you're going to have a degree for. If you want to be a teacher, you're going to have to get a degree for that. You want to be a doctor, you're going to have to get a degree for that. If you want to be a lawyer, you're going to have to get a degree for that. I'm not saying don't go to college. I'm not saying don't go get a degree. What I'm saying is go to school, get the education, but don't hesitate to ask questions, because your professors are human too. And the fact of the matter is that we're all still learning. My point in all of this is that don't hesitate, question science and scientific theory. Because even though you may not have a degree, that does not mean that you can't read, research, and understand. If you like this content, like this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification down there so that you can be notified when these videos drop on Fridays at noon. Thanks for joining me, Seekers, and we will see you next time on Developing His Worldview. Until then, God bless you.